Good morning, YouTubers. It's John Gilkison, AeroStealth here. It is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. 8 days into the new year, and I haven't written down 2025 or miscued the new year yet. This morning I wanted to talk about my evolution from a gas car owner to an electric vehicle owner. Often us EV advocates tend to forget that at one time we didn't own an EV, hadn't experienced one, and that there was some kind of mental process that it took to make the step into buying an electric vehicle. I can remember as far back as the mid-teens, 2014, 2015, I was interested, and I think that's, as an early adopter, I guess that's what differentiates us. We have an interest in electric vehicles. We're just not a person who goes out and buys a car and isn't technical and just goes out and buys a car because we like the look of it, or it's the latest fad, or whatever. We need a new vehicle, but we're not that involved with our vehicles. I think the average person isn't as much as the early adopters of BEVs. But I kind of went over in my mind the steps that had to happen for me to buy an electric vehicle. And it's quite a process. It really started in 2017. And what had happened to us was, originally in 2011, we owned a 4Runner, which we liked a lot. But my wife wanted to get a travel trailer, a fifth wheel, and we needed a vehicle that could tow a fifth wheel. Obviously, that's a pickup truck. So in 2014, September, we bought a Ford F-150 with a 6-foot bed and had an extended range gas tank, 36 gallons. So, hell, I've seen that truck register up to 700 miles of range when you fill it. But in the mid 600s common, so if you're towing and you got a 50% loss of due to towing, you're still in the 300s. I've towed a big fifth wheel up to 270 miles between fill-ups. So, but anyway, even as a daily driver, a Ford F-150 is a bit expensive. It can cost you, if it's your only vehicle, it can cost you a couple $1,000s a year just to put fuel in it. And that's not a good situation for us because we put a lot of miles on our vehicles. We live 20, 25 miles from town, 50-mile round trips to town, and we go to town pretty often. It's like we're still working, although we're retired. So, a couple years into owning the Ford F-150, it was our only vehicle. I was looking around, trying to figure out if we could buy a vehicle that was fuel efficient to cut our cost. And also we'd have two vehicles again, and there's situations that come up where you need two vehicles, or it's just not, there's no reason to drive a truck all the time and only get 18 miles per gallon when if you could have a second car that's a 30 mile per gallon car. Even that would save you money. But anyway, I was interested in electric vehicles, and I've went for rides in Teslas, and I was always interested in them, but they were too expensive for us. And there's other things I don't like about Tesla. It's not just Elon Musk, it's the car itself. For example, I like having just analog switches for heating controls and turn signals and stuff like that. You know, speedometer in front of you. Not that quirky interfaces they have in a Tesla. And a little weary of the Tesla service center situation too. If you have a problem with your vehicle, how you get it serviced. Anyway, be that as it may, we ended up buying in November, late November of 2017. We ran across this Ford C-Max right here. This red car on a Ford lot. It'd been on a lot for over a year, and they wanted to get rid of it. And they had it marked down like 25% off. It was quite a reduction. It was a $30,000+ car, $35,000 car, and we could get it for $25,000. So we kind of jumped on that, and it was a good car. I'd taken a test drive in it before, and one of the things I was leery of was, from owning a pure EV standpoint, was traveling. I wasn't concerned about local driving, but if I wanted to travel in it at that time, I just didn't feel secure in the knowledge that I could, execute a trip. Let's say back to Oklahoma or wherever. And you have to remember, in 2017, things were a little different on charging infrastructure. And plus, I just really didn't have a feel for how the vehicle would be to live with. So I'm just sticking my toe in the water, really, because you got a gas engine in the car to back you up. A Ford C-Max is a plug-in hybrid electric. Only had 20 miles of all-electric range. And then it would switch over to the gas engine, so you could travel. And the car would do 75 miles an hour all day long with the gas engine, and smoothly. I mean, it didn't struggle or anything. It was a pretty nice setup for a plug-in hybrid. It could have used more EV-only range. But what I found out was we could go to town. You didn't use the electric-only range on the interstate or anything like that at high speeds, because it would just eat it up. But you'd go to town. Once you got to town, you'd switch over to electric drive, and you'd do all your errands running around town. And usually we'd start at the east end of the town, Las Cruces, where it's a bit higher elevation. And you end up on the west side of town, down towards the river. It's lower, so you pick up a lot of regen and stuff going downhill. And when you go home, you take the old road home, Valley Drive, and we could make it all the way out to where the speed limit started to 55 miles an hour again before we ran out of juice. A lot of times we could stretch that 20 miles into 25 easily. And what it turned out was we were, in local driving, half of our driving was electric and the other half was gas. And so that really worked. It only had a 5.6 kilowatt hour battery pack in it. So, and it was a little different. Now, also, I kept pretty extensive records on fuel consumption. The fact is, I have it on all my vehicles back to 2011. So anyway, as you can see here, this is a lifetime summary of my fuel logs for the C-Max, and the lifetime fuel economy was 51.1 miles per gallon. And in IC only, it was 32 miles per gallon, so it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't Prius standards. However, and this is what I don't know for sure. I have on here that in EV only it would reach 113 miles per gallon. My 90-day fuel economy on here is 100 miles per gallon. I think it was actually in the 95 mile per gallon range. And the reason I say this is, at the time, I didn't have an EVSE that would give me a readout on the actual amount of kilowatt hours I put into the car to charge it. And I wasn't savvy about that math at that time when I owned that vehicle. And I didn't have that feedback that you get in an electric car nowadays on the dash or anything. So I tended to think in gallons more than I thought in kilowatt hours. Now it's the reverse. Even in my truck, I convert that to kilowatt hours just for grins occasionally. After owning the C-Max for, what do I have on here? Moondust. Up to night. So from 2018, for about 4 years, we owned the C-Max, and then we got a car, our Chevrolet Bolt, which I'll show you a picture of it now too. It's the bottom one, right there. And in 2022, we bought it. And so 3.5 years we owned it. And so we just went pure electric. Because what had been on my mind from owning the C-Max for nearly 3.5 years was, why am I carrying around this gas engine? Because I could do half of, on 20 miles only, I could do half of my driving. And I'm going, this is a no bueno, carrying around this gas engine. This is the key to efficiencies, to own a pure electric drive. And the I just had a, and things were evolving, more charging infrastructure and so forth. And what I had noticed was that the electric motor in the C-Max would, it was only 49 horsepower, and man, that thing would go. I'm going, wow, if 49 horsepower can do this, what would 200 do? And it would be a real cruiser. And so we ran across the Bolt. The Bolt was used, and so we got a good deal on it. We got it for, I think, $20,000, and it was a couple of years old. It was a 2019 when we bought it, and it had the smaller battery pack, the 60 kilowatt hour. And you may remember there was this thing about Chevy Bolt battery fires at the time. The internet was blowing up with it, and I actually viewed this thing at the time as good news, because what it meant was, because they only had 65 kilowatt hour battery packs to replace these packs with, and the same size pack, and it meant that if GM put a new battery in my car, I would get a 65 kilowatt hour battery pack, and I did, and it was free. So, and the first, I drove it, as soon as I got that battery put in the car, I drove it from the dealer, and I did 300 miles on that car before I had to charge it. Now, that said, I drove it down to alarm state, but I wanted to see what it would do, and I did it. So that was fun. So anyway, my lifetime on the, I need to get rid of these two files here. I'll just set them over there. On Moondust, my lifetime fuel economy, right here, the top one. Won't make you read all that, but it says 127 miles per gallon. And I could easily see driving around here on some of the local roads, keeping my speed down. I'd hit 150 miles per gallon in that car, easily. My total cost here is, on this one, $68. Okay, but the in December of 2023, El Paso Electric established me on a new rate. It's called a whole house rate rider, where I was only paying for charging between midnight and 8 a.m. I was only paying less than 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And it worked out to $1.75 a gallon equivalent for electricity. So when I went on it, my lifetime fuel economy on that one was 124 miles per gallon. And my total distance traveled was 21,000 miles, and I had spent $298 on electricity. So we're talking 1 cent a mile here is what it's saying. It's incredible stuff. Typically we'd go 150 miles or so and charge it, and every charge up would only cost us about $2. And that would be about every 3 days or so. So anyway, the Chevy Bolt was a nice car. We really liked it, but it was lacking in a few features that we thought were essential for us. It was a bit too small, number one. It wasn't a really good vehicle to travel in. A little larger car just rides better. We need something with a little longer legs. Instead of 250 miles of range, 300. And also the DC fast charging in the Chevrolet Bolt at that time was only 55 kilowatts max. So you just spent a little longer at DC fast chargers when you did travel. And that's one of the misnomers I think most people have about electric cars. They're concerned about the cost of DC fast charging, and you know, if you don't own your own home and you live in an apartment, yeah, it can be a no bueno to own an electric vehicle, because the secret to electric vehicles is charging them at home. And for us, it's a win-win because we have that rate rider. Even when now we have so much solar, we have like 10 kilowatts of solar. Sometimes we charge in the daytime. If it's a nice sunny day and we're generating a lot of power, we're not using that much for air conditioning. Like in the middle of summer, we'd be running the air conditioner a lot. But if we're not doing that, you can plug it in at 24 amps and charge it, and you're charging for free off solar power, basically, because you're generating at least that amount of power, 5 kilowatts, to stuff in the battery. So, but I usually charge it at night on that special rate. So we've saved a shit ton of money. But what we ran across was the Ioniq 5. It was a 2024 Ioniq 5. And here's a picture of it. And I'm demonstrating it here. I'm at a Tesla charger. When we got the NACS charging adapter for the car and we were able to charge at it, we went down and tested it right away. I haven't charged since at a Tesla charger. I don't do that much charging, and the car came with 2 years of free free Electrify America charging at DC fast chargers, and that's going to end at the end of February this year. So we just don't DC fast charge unless we travel. And we haven't traveled for since last June. I went to Phoenix. Anyway, so we're going to have to do the bottom one here, my efficiency log for it on the at 90%. And the fuel economy, lifetime fuel economy here at the bottom here is 113 miles per gallon. So I'm not doing as well as I would having the Bolt, but I got a larger car. It's got longer legs. It's got really fast charging. You can charge from 10% to 80% in 18 minutes at a proper DC fast charger, like a 350 kilowatt unit. And we're still doing the same thing. Our average cost for fill on this one's $2.80, it says. Before we got that special rate, our average cost to fill it was, average cost per fill was $3.84. So you can see there's, having a special rate has really cut it for us. But typically I charge about every 3 days, 150 miles. And I charge to 90%, not 80% like a lot of people recommend, because I just want 10% extra range. And even if it does shorten the life of the battery a little bit, I've looked at the graphs, and it's all about cycles. And by getting that extra 10%, you have less charging cycles. So it all comes out. Now, I don't charge to 100% unless I'm going to travel. Like pretty soon we're going to take a trip up to Santa Fe, so we will take the car, and got good confidence we'll make it even through that I-25 gap that you got. We can get to Santa Fe no problem, and we also solved one of the problems that you have with electric cars. We actually are carrying a spare, and it fits behind the seat. I don't have a picture of that, but it fits behind the rear seat, in between the cargo bay, behind the rear seats. There's a gap when you slide the seats forward, and it's a split seat, so we got it behind one of the seats, and so we can still carry one individual in the back comfortably. And it's all, the spare tires wrapped, got its own case, and we got a complete kit for changing, including the jack and everything, for changing a tire. So if we have a flat out on the road, and we just bought 4 brand new tires for it, so we're good to go in November. That cost us $1,200. I think new tires is the biggest expense you have in service item on an electric car. Other than that, it's throw in windshield washer fluid and keep track of your tire pressures and change your cabin air filter once in a while. That's a good idea. And wiper blades, it's a consumable. So that's it. I mean, we've had no problems with it. We haven't had any of the dreaded ICCU problems that people talk about yet. I hope we don't. But if we do, we're in a good shape. I mean, Hyundai will take care of it, but we have a backup vehicle or truck to drive while it's in a shop. So that's all I have for you today. And that's all I wanted to tell you. I'm speaking to the people who've never owned an electric car, or even really skeptical, or out there saying, I just don't think it would work for me, you know. If you can charge at home, you got it made. Even at regular rates, whatever your house rate is, you'll save a shit ton of money. We have a son-in-law who's bragging to me about his gas car, an old Infiniti. Had 200,000 miles on it. It's paid for, you know. He says, my car's paid for. 200,000 miles on it. And I said, yeah, but you've spent $21,000 on fuel since you bought it. And I said, in the same amount of time, 200,000 miles, I'd only spend $300 and some on fuel. I said, so you've lost $17,000 on this car since you bought it, compared to what you could have. So he's a capitalist, he says, and I don't think so. I'll let you go right there. You need to experience it. If you're going to make up your mind about electric cars, test riding some of them. If you really don't trust the idea of buying one, buy a PHEV. They're out there now, especially with the Trump administration and the car automobile manufacturers in the United States stepping back on EVs. It's the oil companies really that are driving all this. They don't want electric vehicles because that's the end of them. And I say farewell. I mean, they want to blow up the planet, and I want to use as few fossil fuels as possible. I'd love to get rid of that truck. I'd like to have an electric truck, but that's just not in the cards for us yet. We're not in one of those. We're not people that can just go out and buy a vehicle whenever we just want to. You got to wait until you're in a position. You know how that is. So there you have it. I got to cut this video off. It's running over 25 minutes now. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Happy electric trails.